Toy Story 2 is a 1999 American computer comedy film animated by Pixar Studios, directed by John Lasseter and produced by Pixar Animation Studios for Walt Disney Pictures. It acts as the sequel to the 1995 animated film Toy Story 1 and the second film of the Toy Story franchise. And what is the film all about? Well, Woody is stolen from his home by a toy dealer, Al McWiggin, leaving Buzz Lightyear and the rest of the gang to try and rescue him. But when Woody discovers that he's actually a valuable collectible for one once popular television show called Woody's Roundup, and is reunited with his horse Bullseye, the Jessie the yodeling cowgirl, and his faithful sidekick Stinky Pete, the prospector, he doesn't really want to leave and may actually end up leaving Andy, Buzz, and the rest of the gang behind. But can Buzz and the gang try and persuade him back? Well, you gotta watch the film out. And the film stars Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Don Rickles, Wallace Shawn, John Ratzenberg, Jim Ranney, Annie Potts, R. Lee Amy, John Morris, and Noreen Metcalf all reprised their roles from the original film. They are joined by Joanne Cusack, Jodie Benson, Kelsey Grammer, Estelle Harris, and Wayne Knight, who voiced some of the newer characters introduced. Disney initially envisioned Toy Story 2 as a direct-to-video sequel. The film began production in the building separated from Pixar on a small scale, as most of the main Pixar staff were busy working on A Bug's Life. When story rules proved promising, Disney upgraded the film to a theatrical release, but Pixar was unhappy with the film's quality. John Lasseter and the story team redeveloped the entire plot in one weekend. Although most Pixar features take years to develop, the established release date could not be moved, and the production schedule for Toy Story 2 was compressed into 9 months. So these guys were really tight in schedule. Despite production schedules, Toy Story 2 opened on November 24th, 1999 to wildly successful box office numbers, eventually grossing over $497 million worldwide. It received critical acclaim with a rare 100% rating on the website Rotten Tomatoes. It is considered by critics to be one of the few sequels superior to the original and frequently featured on the list of the greatest animated films ever made. The film has seen multiple home video releases and a theatrical 3D re-release in 2009, 10 years after its initial release. And what can I say about this film? Let's talk about the good of this film. And the good is that I love how it establishes from the first movie. It feels more like chapter 2 of like a Toy Story book, like this Toy Story trilogy really does feel like, just like a one big book, like it's all in the same book, it doesn't feel like a completely different, it doesn't feel like a cop out of the first film. It feels exactly the same. It establishes these characters and puts them in new positions. Woody, literally voiced by Tom Hanks, what can I say? He's a great dude. Woody obviously gets kidnapped by this. Obviously, Woody gets injured in the movie while Andy's playing with him, and he leaves him from camp, and obviously he gets kidnapped, and Woody has this kind of like conflicting feeling that Andy will never really acknowledge him, and he will grow up and start to forget about him, and he feels that by joining Jessie and the rest of the gang and going to Japan and joining this museum that he will be loved by kids everywhere. And I do quite like that, how he's been conflicted, and however he has Buzz and Andy and all them lot, he doesn't want to abandon them, and Buzz Lightyear takes more of a commanding role in this movie, kind of commanding this little roundup gang of like Potato Head, Slinky Dog, Rex, Ham, and I do like his little leadership, and I do like how Buzz is kind of persuading Woody that, reminding him that he is a toy, just like how Woody did with Buzz in the first one. I like that little flisheroo. And also the character of Jessie is really great, because she's been through a lot of hardships, and spoiler alert, she had her own, just like Woody, and her backstory is pretty damn sad, and there's a whole song dedicated to her and her previous owner, and it's really, it does bring a tear to your eye, and it's something that could honestly happen to Woody and the gang, to be honest with you, easily, I think also the jokes and the humor is definitely a lot more better and funnier than the first one. It's definitely upped a little bit. It's so much more entertaining as well, and so much more fast paced as well. The pacing is really damn great. I also do like Wayne Knight's character as Al McWiggin, this kind of like pathetic, this like toy collector who finds Woody and wants to sell him to get some money so he doesn't have to work at the Al Barnes toy barn anymore. And he's a bit of a pathetic guy, and but in all honesty, I'd be just like him, if I saw a toy that was his kind of like prized possession, I'd do that as well. I'm actually an Al Barn as well. Like I would, if I saw a prized toy, I wouldn't like keep it and play with it. I'd sell it. I'd get money for it, just like how I was more like Sid in the first movie, I definitely related to Sid a lot more than Andy. And yeah, I think we are all a little bit like Sid, The music is also just as great, and the animation style and the animation and the character motion is so much better. They've definitely improved on the human and animal characters a lot more than the first one, because the first one, those dog like 3D models are kind of weird looking. Even the humans are a bit weird, but they've improved in this one considerably. And I do like a lot of it has a lot of Star Wars reference in this film, particularly Emperor Zurg, and there's this alternative Buzz, which is like a second Buzz. When they go to Al's toy barn, they meet another Buzz, because there's like millions of them in stock, and the toys get mixed up with that Buzz, and then he has to battle Emperor Zurg, and it's very Star Wars like, and I did like all these references. It's pretty cool, and honestly, I don't have anything bad to say about this film, I'd probably say maybe just the animation could be a little bit better, but it was made in 1999. It's an old flick, to be honest with you, and for that I'm going to give this film, just like the first one, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I'm going to give it an A star. It's still great, and there's not much more for me to say, because it's just a fantastic film. It pulls on the heartstring, it makes you laugh, it makes you cry, does all that lovely jazz that we all love from these Toy Story films. But thank you for watching. Please like and share this video and comment down below and tell me what's your favourite Toy Story flick. With that said, thank you for watching. As always, a boy review signing out.